Hello and welcome to Marketing Speak. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, and today I'm very excited to have Steve Brossman with us. Steve is a true innovator in sales and marketing, and his blueprint conversion system has been hailed as one of the real breakthroughs in selling, taking the stress out of professionals selling themselves. With over 20 years in TV and videos, his interviews are always lively and informative. Steve, it's so great to have you on the show.
Stephan, it's great to be here. You are a long-lost cousin of Stephen, so it's great to be with another variation of Steve. So, mate, I'm looking forward to this chat.
Yeah. You know, so many people mispronounce my name as Stephen, and they're like, this looks like Stephen to me. And it's like, no, there's an A-N instead of an E-N. Like, oh, it's like I've shown them the Holy Grail or something, and they've finally figured it out. Yeah. Anyway, so let's start by talking about what is it about selling that makes people so, I don't know, weird when they try to sell themselves or their services, their company. They get all tight and nervous. They get a frog in their throat. Their voice cracks. They start fidgeting. It just gets so weird, and it doesn't have to be that way, but it seems like so many people have that problem. I used to have that problem. And so what's with human nature and being in that position that we just kind of gravitate to that?
I guess it's the old school thought process of the let's go the old school salesperson, the guy who turns up on your doorstep trying to sell the encyclopedias and the pots and the pans. It's the pushy car salesman with the slick back hair and the greasy mustache that's trying to sell you a car that's going to break down as soon as it goes around the corner. It's probably the 1% or the 5% of salespeople that are the ones who deliver a bad experience, and people want to say, I don't want to be a salesperson because I don't want to be like them.
Yeah,
and
I don't want to be inauthentic. I don't want to be slimy and scammy or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really hurt a lot of people because a salesperson is perceived as somebody who's trying to sell you something that you don't really want. And one thing that helped me many years ago was a definition of selling that I really lived by. And it helped me get over myself about selling my services. And the listeners may want to pay real close attention to this, that selling is professionally servicing other people's needs for a mutually beneficial gain. And that starts off with professionally servicing other people's needs. So if you're helping people, helping them get a result, professionally servicing their needs, the mutually beneficial gain is they get a result and you get paid. Mm-hmm. And that's a great exchange. And people should know that if they have a service that helps people, it's their right, it's their duty, it's their obligation to provide that service or need and get paid for it, because you and I both have seen lots of things where people get it for free, they'll do something, they have no commitment. So the old saying of if they don't pay, they don't pay attention fits.
Yeah,
because
I love that quote, by the way. That's so true.
Yeah. If they don't have some sort of skin in the game, then they're not really going to invest their most precious commodity, which is time and commitment.
Yeah. And so many times I've given my several $1,000 courses away to people, good friends or whatever, and they didn't even crack them open. They never logged in, and they didn't have to pay a thing. So yes, they didn't have skin in the game.
Absolutely. And a lot of people, particularly of the people that I'm working with now, those who are what I call knowledge professionals, they sell their knowledge, their skills, or their expertise, not just a box of fruit or nails and drill bits. They sell themselves. They have a real fear when it gets to the asking for the money or the exchange or the close, as the other sales trainers call it, because it's personal. And if they say no, they're saying no to them. Whereas if you're selling something in a fruit shop, Yeah, well, you didn't buy this apple, so what? That's not a problem. But if you're selling yourself, and that's where, they start getting heart palpitations and sweaty palms. It's like, I've got to come to this bar where I've got to ask for the money. Am I worth it? Not is my service worth it? Am I worth it? And that's where they start falling into the trap.
Yeah. So how do you position yourself in a way that you're worth so much money and yet not too much that it scares them away? So you're saying my services, like I'll take me as an example. I charge $35,000 for an SEO audit, and some people will spit out their coffee as I'm telling them that. And as you're drinking your coffee, and others will be like, okay, that's fine, because they expect that. Okay, you're worth it. You've been in this industry a long time. You're a noted expert. You've got books that you've written or co-written. So okay, that makes sense. And if they want a cheaper option, I do have my team on. So we have a small agency, and they can get the agency team to do the audit, and I'm not doing the audit for them. So that's another option. But that gives the positioning of high price, high value. Whereas if I came in with a lowball price that should be a no-brainer, that actually works against me in getting the sale. Like, okay, I'll charge you $330 for an SEO audit. Like, what? Are you just pressing a button on a tool and generating a report? Doesn't sound credible then. So there's something about getting the pricing right and getting the positioning of that pricing right, so it feels good to the recipient, to the one you're pitching.
Yeah, you're starting at a really good spot when you start talking about positioning. And the first step is, how are you positioned in the market? And I really do hope your listeners got some pen and paper, or at least a keypad to take this on, because your perceived position predicts your profits. Now, it's your positioning in the market, and you may have heard me talk about this before, is the brown box syndrome. And that's the start of all price comparisons. If you call yourself an SEO guy, or a digital marketer, or a life coach, a business coach, a financial planner, an advisor, if you call yourself the same as everybody else in the marketplace, then you're a brown box. There might absolutely be gold inside that box. You could be the best, but if you call yourself the same as everybody else, you're judged, just like salespeople. You're judged by the lowest common denominator. And if they've had some sort of experience with you, like an insurance broker that I've worked with, when you say I'm an insurance broker, they'll run a mile because you're going to try and sell them insurance. Then you're compared on price. The lowest common denominator is, well, if you're a brown box and you're a brown box and you're a brown box, hell, I'm just going to pick the cheapest price. Whereas, and let's just say that insurance broker, he wanted to help protect their loved ones, their assets, their protectables in unforeseen circumstance. So we turned him around to become a lifestyle protection specialist. And that is perceived higher value. A mortgage broker, we repackaged him as a property portfolio specialist. It's like he's helping people get more properties. And the value and the perceived value of that person started going up and say, look, please tell me more. Please unwrap the box so I actually know the value that you're going to provide me, not I guess the value. And that's the start of it all, is your own personal positioning or your business positioning when you get out there to start the conversation. And then it is, what are they doing to get to know you? And I've got a process where we talk about increase the buying energy before they talk to you. Now that might be give them some videos. It might be give them a taste of a part of the book that you may have written. And it's increasing the excitement and the buying energy. It's like, wow, I'm not just talking to another brown box. I'm talking to somebody who's written a book. They put out some videos. And I'm getting more and more excited to talk to that person. And then the last bit is, it works beautifully, is before they actually get on a call to talk to you, there's a personal video that we teach people how to use. And it's like, hey, Stephan, really can't wait to have a conversation with you. Had a look at your website, had a look at this. I've got some fantastic ideas I'm looking forward to sharing with you. See you Thursday at 3:30. Now, that is going to increase the excitement level beyond just me knowing that you do a $330 SEO service. It's like, this person is innovative. This person is a true leader. I'm expecting to pay a lot more when I work with that person. It's the process leading up to the call that is very important, crucial, before you actually get on the call. And then the actual conversation isn't anywhere near as hard.
Yeah, that's great. And that reminds me of somebody who's been on the podcast here a while ago, John Schumacher, and his strategy that's part of his application funnel process is to get the prospect to Netflix, binge watch essentially the trainings, the information, videos that will help that person move closer to the desired end state, but also to becoming a client. So getting that prospect to do some Netflixing beforehand makes the sale so much easier. It's like they're primed, ready to sign when they show up, because they've already invested all this time. They've already gotten all this evidence of mastery, of expertise, and social proof seeded throughout the videos. I really like that strategy. Have you heard of that before?
Yeah, and it's very similar to the process that we go through. And a lot of the salespeople say that, okay, pick somebody out, qualify them. Now, qualifying is, I think you are somebody that I can sell to. And what that exact other process was what we teach. Cultivate. Don't qualify, cultivate. Give them some watering, give them some fertilizer, but also give them some pruning. Now, if you tell me to watch, X number of hours of Netflix, now I may or may not do it.
Yeah.
Now, if I don't do
not
it,
Netflix, but
away,
videos of my own trainings or whatever. But yes.
Yeah. So if I don't do it, then I'm self-selecting, saying, I don't think you're worth me investing the time to watch it. Therefore, I'm not going to get on a call. Therefore, we don't have to talk to people that are not excited to work with us. And that's a great way of starting a conversation. And I do exactly the same thing, but nowhere near to the level of that. They've got some videos to watch. They've got part of my books to read. It's only 40 minutes here and 10 minutes here. But they self-select. Yeah. Part of growing a great plant is pruning.
Yeah.
Now, if they get into the first video and they think this Steve Brossman is an absolute idiot, they go away. But if they keep going and they get to the point of getting on the call, they know who I am, what I do, who I serve, and have a reasonable understanding of the price range that we're going to be talking about. They're people that I'm excited to talk to because they're excited to talk to me. And just to let you know how this works, and one person yesterday went through, and I've got what I call a 36-minute LinkedIn sales funnel. It actually took 38 minutes. Somebody connected with me 24 hours ago. I sent them a great message back. Great to connect with you. Tell me more about what you do. Here's a quick video to say hi. I'd love to hear more about what you do, see how we can help each other. And by the way, here's one of my back pocket guides as a gift to get started. So he digested that. Shortly after, he typed back and said, hey, listen, this is what I'm doing, Steve. By the way, do you think what you do could help me? It's like, that's a lovely question that you'd love to hear. And I said, well, just typed in, I need to know a little bit more about what you do. I help other people just like you. Why don't we have a quick chat? 10 minutes later, the booking was in. 10 minutes after that, I sent him the personal video because I'd had a look at the website and everything. We had a conversation yesterday, which actually took 35 minutes, and here's a client. Because the buying energy and the collaboration of how we were going to provide value, not me selling to him, was there. And we can talk about the sales conversation in a minute, but that whole process, people think the selling is only on the call. And if you're going through the traditional way, you're positioned as a brown box. Well, there's not a lot of buying energy there, is there? You're the same as everybody else. I'm probably going to have a chat with you. I'm going to have a chat with the next one, and I'm going to have a chat with the next one. So I'm not that excited to talk to you. All you're doing in the background is qualifying me. That doesn't excite me as a buyer at all. And then one of the worst things, and we can have a discussion about this, is they book them in for the dreaded discovery call or the strategy call. Now, every profession, every man and his dog is being told you've got to get them on a discovery call. Well, we all know that that is a sales call.
Yeah.
They're going to get on, they're going to have a chat, they're going to ask you some questions, they're going to sell the hell out of you. So that reduces buying energy because they're sitting there on their hands with their credit card in the other room so they don't buy anything. And you've got to resurrect them before you actually start creating the connection and then communicating the value. So booking them in for that sales call, whereas we book them in and we teach our people is a perceived high value call. Now, and I'm going to give you the titles of a couple of ours that if we're working in one direction, then we're booking them in for an authority unpack. Let's unpack your authority positioning and how you're seen in the market. Another one is a prominence and persuasion review, how you are standing out in the market, what is your sales process. Now, I had one book in yesterday. I was like, I can't wait for this so you can tell me this, this, and this. They were excited about the value they were going to get from the call, which was a sales call. And it actually worked because they're excited to talk to you. And that really breaks down the barrier of those first few minutes. And it makes it a very good place to start.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I love that. So instead of a discovery call or strategy call, it's an authority unpack or prominence and persuasion review. It makes the sales call not feel like a sales call at the beginning. You've persuaded them towards being more open and receptive to whatever you're advising them. It makes total sense. And yet, how many people are doing that compared to the standard approach of the strategy call? Everybody's doing the strategy call, like you said.
Yeah. And that's when you do the same as everybody else, you're really going to get some fairly poor results. And people, back in the days when it was new, it's like, wow, I can't wait to get a strategy from this person. And I wonder what the discovery is. It's like, well, I really know where I am. It's like, well, I'm not lost. And it's something that now that everybody's doing, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the actual process, but when you put that sales call attached to it virtually, then it's the resistance that you get straight away. And one of the things that I've been doing a lot of work with some fantastic people in cognitive neuroscience is I've designed and categorized 3 different levels of persuasion influence. Now, the first level is imposed influence. Now, that's when you're putting out a lot of information and you're getting on the call and I'm giving you all of this information. Sure, I'll ask you the questions of, what are your pains, what do you need right now, and what's stopping you from going forward, which is generally the typical questions to get started. And then I'm going to impose my influence on you by here is why I'm good and how I can fix them. So it's going to giving you all of this information. That's the lowest level of influence. I'm imposing my influence on you. The next level is collaborative. And when you're working together on a common goal or agreed outcomes, that person has an investment in those outcomes. And my saying in this is when they're involved, they invest. And that really makes a big difference. And, we spoke earlier about the blueprint conversion system. We design a blueprint, which is a collaborative piece of information. It's a schematic of their particular unique system and how the outcomes. It's a piece of paper to draw on and collaborate on. And I've got this other saying that what's the best way to get people on the same page as you? So, Stephan, what's the best way to get people on the same page as you?
Make it seem like it's their idea.
It was a trick question. Have a page to get on. So when, and most of mine now, because of what we're doing and Zoom and Skype and everything, most of mine are on the screen and we're collaborating on the same page. I've got my little drawing tool and I'm annotating, and we'll get to a certain point on the blueprint where we know that they may have an issue, and together we'll talk about a solution, but most importantly, we'll quantify that. So if we did this in your business on a monthly basis, what would that mean to you in income? And they might say X $1,000 a month. And great. Well, what about some time saving? Yes. Well, that's going to save me X hours per month. And how's that going to make you feel? Well, that's going to make me feel less stressed, etc. So those values are written on the blueprint. And as we're going around the blueprint, and I call them value pit stops, where we collaborate and we agreed on an outcome. And as you're going around, those valued outcomes are adding up, and they're adding up. And you get to a point where they're adding them up in their brain. And we're going to do X thousand here and save this time and less stress and X thousand here. They can't possibly charge me more than that. Mm-hmm. And they'll get to the point, and this exact same thing happened yesterday at 25 minutes into a conversation. We worked around the blueprint. It's like, Steve, this looks awesome. What are the next steps and how do we get started? I can pretty well guarantee that most people out there would love to hear that instead of getting the sweaty palms and the heart palpitations, say, well, how do I get the next bit? And I start telling them what I do and how do I sell. And they're asking you, and that's the highest level of influence. That's self-influence. They have taken ownership of asking for the next steps on how we work together. So you go from imposed, collaborative, and then self. And that's where, I've written the Back Pocket Guide to Self-Selling Secrets. That is self-selling at its best. They make a informed decision that they just have to work with you because the values are shown in front. And you said to me right back at the beginning, how do you justify your fees? Well, basically, you take it out of the profits that you've just put in their pocket. So if I'm going to help somebody put an extra $50,000 a month in their pocket, all I really have to be is under $49,999 and they're making a profit. I'd love my fees to be that, but anyhow, and then it's like, well, this is awesome. By the look at it, if we put this system, not me, this system into your business, we're going to, and then quantify all the values that you're going to deliver them. Does it make sense we actually get started sooner rather than later? And that is the highest level of pushy close that you actually have to do when you use the blueprint system is, hey, it's here in front. Does it make sense? Or could you do without that 50 grand a month in your pocket?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's some explicit leading them to come to some point where they're doing the math in their head, and that's implicit. And then they're realizing that, wow, I'd be a mug to not do this.
Yes. Yeah. And the great thing, and let's go back to the old school selling, which is basically, here's a whole list of things of why I'm good. Potentially, if in a competitive market, here's why I'm better than everybody else. Here's why you should pick me. it's just that imposing influence, and you're getting overwhelmed. And it's like, well, buy now. Whereas when you're collaborating on it, they're taking those next steps themselves, and it makes a massive difference in the energy as they're excited to say, well, listen, if I work with you, all of this stuff on your sheet of paper, and when you're annotating, and the neuroscience behind annotation is you could be using exactly the same blueprint. You could be using exactly the same presentation, but the minute you start writing on it, it seems personal to them. It's theirs. So you could use it 1,000 times, but the minute you write on it, their engagement goes up 80%. The retention factor of the information goes up 80%. And action at the end of it goes up 5 times, 500%.
Yeah, it really, you stood out as a presenter when I saw you speak at a metal meeting recently, and you're one of the only people I can recall that wrote on their slides as they were being displayed. Yeah, that's really innovative.
Yeah, and I've been doing it and teaching it for quite some time, and I was on call me a very sad puppy. I was 6 a.m. one Saturday morning here in Australia on a cognitive neuroscience webinar thinking, how long am I going to stay here? But I got to the end of the hour and a half and hit the replay button and watched it all again. And one of the key things was the neuroscience behind what they called annotation, writing. And I thought that is why it works, is because that slide could be used for 1,000 times, but the minute you write on it, it creates the bridge between you and that person, and it elevates it to collaboration, not imposing the influence. Instead of me, here's a slide and here's lots of information that you have to take in. The minute you've got movement, and as a primate, movement draws our eyes to it. The minute there's movement around, we turn our head towards that movement, which is why videos work so well. We turn our head towards it. Is it fight or flight? And we've been built that in since we're a caveman. Something moves, do we kill it or do we run from it? And the minute you're annotating, you draw that person in, and they're involved in the actual process, and you're taking them down that journey. It's sitting beside them, even it might be screen to screen. You're sitting beside them with your arm on their shoulders. Together, we are creating something for you. And the great thing when you get to the end of that, does it make sense? You go back and you, by the looks of it, Stephan, if we put this system into your business, we're going to generate this, and save this, and you're going to be less stressed. You're going to get home for dinner of a night time to spend with your kids. Does it make sense we get started sooner rather than later? Now, the minute they say yes to that, objections go out the window, because an objection is an opportunity to say no. The only thing you have then is an obstacle. Now, if money could be an issue, you just continue the collaboration. So it's not overcoming objection like the pushy sales trainers. I'm going to help you overcome objections. Well, the minute they say, yeah, it makes sense, then you just keep collaborating and there are no more objections. They're just obstacles. And that's a big difference, working with somebody towards the solution instead of fighting with them to overcome the objection.
That is a really crucial point. Yeah, I hadn't made that distinction before. Objections, of course, I've always thought of those as part of the sales process and overcoming them, even preempting them, but obstacles being separate and different from objections. And once you clear the objections, because in their mind they're like, yes, I need this and I do want it, then it's just a matter of getting the right attributes or details in place. That's really cool. So a couple of points on this. So is there a tool that you use specifically to do the annotation, or is it just the built-in feature in Zoom where you can, instead of share your screen, you're sharing a whiteboard, or are you using an iPad or something that kind of makes this a little more spiffy?
I'm a very low tech person. so I find the easiest way, and I'm not a Mac at all, and I've got a lot of great colleagues who use Mac to draw and to write. So if you're a Mac person, then attach an iPad. You can do it wirelessly. You can do it with the cable. I'm just simple. I use PowerPoint, and then I plug in just one of the traditional graphic scratch pads. So I've got a pen, a scratch pad, and I can write on PowerPoint. And I use it with my coaching clients, because as we're going through, we're drawing, we're annotating on their blueprints or whatever we're working on. And as a coach, I can do all of that. They get the recording, plus they get whatever we drew and mapped out. And it's a great tool. It's a great way to work with people on and elevate the value that you're providing them. And it's been a game changer that I started using probably about 4 or 5 years ago, to be able to annotate, draw on the actual screen. And now I know the neuroscience behind it. It's just even more powerful that I make sure that all of my people know how to do it.
Yeah, that's very cool. There's even some tech that allows you to use a pen and paper, like if you have a notepad or something, or you got butcher paper and a marker, you can have hold the iPhone and use that as the display over your desk. So, I forget the name of it, but there's a device like that.
Yeah, there's a thing called Stream Deck where you can have multi-cameras. You can have the one facing you. You can have a short one to the side. You can have one over the top where you're actually writing on it, and you can just push each button that you want at any particular time. I was going to set all of that up. Well, no, it wasn't. I was going to get my son to set it all up. I'll tell the truth.
Yeah, way to delegate.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he said, Dad, you're not using it. I want to use it for my gaming, streaming, etc. And he's got it all set up, and he pushes each of the buttons. I said, yeah, that's really actually what I wanted, but I'm just going to stick with my scratch pad and share screen, and I can live with that.
Yeah. Funny. Okay, so you've used this approach of annotating with presentations to audiences for non-sales, educational conference sessions and things like that, correct?
Correct, yes, definitely.
And you've used this, of course, in sales presentations with individuals or small groups. And presumably you would use this also in delivery presentations to your clients. So you're going to deliver a document, some sort of report or analysis, an audit or whatever, and seems like going through the process of annotating that document would make this look even more interactive and engaging for the client.
Yeah, and the thing is, now, because we are distanced, instead of sitting down beside somebody and actually scribbling on the piece of paper beside them or putting a highlight across it, you actually do it remotely, whether it's one person or whether it's 100. It could be a Word document with a lot of words on the screen. And if you want to highlight something, you could circle it. It's just so much more freedom to be able to do that, because it actually draws the eyes to that specific point that you want them to focus on at any particular time. And the science is that the minute you start using it, engagement and retention goes up 80%. And that's phenomenal if you've got people in a room for any length of time, to keep them focusing on the pieces that you want them to focus on. And it does make a difference. Well, yeah, you were talking about the presentation I did a few weeks ago as being innovative. And the interesting thing about when you start using new innovation, it is perceived that you're innovative across the rest of what you do. I had one of our clients 13 years ago when we started teaching video marketing. It was way back when it was just starting to come out. And she was a recruitment officer, or they had a recruitment company in our capital city, Canberra, and they had 135 recruitment agencies because it was a big government city. And they were struggling to stand out, but they started using videos and using them in a very simple way, which was the About Us videos. And they were innovative. One of their team sang who he was, and the owner of the company was only I think she was about 4'10", but loved basketball. And so the opening shot was her playing basketball with a 6-foot-something African-American basketballer, which was a massive disparity. And she said, "Hey, it's Kate here, CEO of this, this, and this, and here's a little bit about me." And they just did a couple of other interviews with different people. Now, that made them stand out, and everybody said, "Wow, you were so innovative." And that had nothing really to do with their business process, but it shot them up the list. So the minute you start doing something that is different and innovative, it's perceived that it is right across the board, and everybody wants to talk to you and say, "Well, what else do you do?" Yeah. And it really, really makes a difference. And it's funny enough, that just jogged my memory. My first book was called Stand Up, Stand Out, or Stand Aside. In my Aussie slang, I was nearly going to call it Be Different or Bugger Off, but my wife is an Amazon guru, and she basically said, "No, you can't do that." But that's the thing. Stand up and stand out, or get out of the road. Is if you're a brown box, just suck it up, because you're going to be sitting on the shelf pretty well competing on price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, one of the ways that you innovate and stand apart from others in your field is through those personal videos. Not that many people are doing that. And are those videos done using Bonjoro or Loom or something else? By the way, I had Matt Barnett, the founder of Bonjoro, on this podcast maybe a year and a half ago. That was a great episode. So we deep dived in this whole topic. But I'm curious what makes your videos, the personal videos, really stand apart from everybody else's who are doing personal videos, because there aren't that many. That already is a nice differentiator, but I'm sure you're doing something that makes your video even more remarkable.
The interesting thing is, I've been doing personal videos since way before phones could even do a video. It was just after the digital camera could actually do videos within the camera itself. So we were excited when the camera went from a 1 megapixel to 2 megapixels. Wow, that was exciting. And you would actually attach a video to an email. Back in the old dial-up days of dial-up internet, and you could actually watch it go tick, 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 and the video was uploading. And I remember the power of one video that I did to a company, and the guy in the company, and we were going to implement them using exactly the same. And he looked at the video and said, "I get it, I understand it, you've got the gig, we're going to do it." But 10 years later, he had moved different companies and is in a sales role. He connected with me. He said, "Steve, I still remember that first video. This company needs to do that now. Are you still working with people to do it?" That's the power of doing a video or a video email that people remember. And yes, I do now use Bonjoro, but that's the third platform that I've used, and we used one of the earliest ones that's no longer around, called Jive, and then went to another one. And the power of that is absolutely phenomenal. I met a guy who I was introduced to. I sent him a video email, say, "Wow, looking forward to meeting you, looking forward to finding out what we can do with your company, et cetera, et cetera." Now, we went to a networking event that he was at, and he introduced me to 5 separate people saying, "Hey, this is the guy whose video that I sent you, that I showed you. This is the guy who sent me that video and it's like, well, yeah, it's a very powerful tool to stand out. But the most important thing is it's not to get on there and connect and deliver who you are, what you're going to do. The power behind it, and actually the same company did a webinar on the neuroscience of video emails 3 weeks ago, and it's the connection with them and how to stimulate the right, what we call the happy hormones, serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine. And you might think, aren't you just doing a video? Yes, but if you can stimulate those happy hormones and say, wow, I want to spend more time with that person. The video was not to really blurt out why you're good and what you're going to do, but it's to get that human to human connection, to get that feel through the cameras. Like, this is a person that I want to spend more time with. And oh, by the way, they sound intelligent. Otherwise, you're getting that really boring. It's like, yeah, okay, I'll put up with this person. So it's to get that personality through the camera. And I guess that's one of the things. And I've had 20 years, and I will let you know that a lot of it was in kids' TV. So I had to be fairly personal through those black holes called the camera, and learn to engage, particularly kids, because they're a tough market. And to get the connection through the camera to that one person on the other side is something that's very powerful. And if you can do that through a quick video and have that person say, wow, I want to spend more time with that person, I can't wait, then that's powerful.
Yeah, awesome. So it's like the concept of persuasion, which I learned from Robert Cialdini, who was a guest on this podcast, incidentally. He's amazing. So that concept of persuasion is getting the subtle cues kind of seated or placed in a way that the subconscious mind picks it up, and it makes you more receptive to the opportunity. And an example of that is if you're trying to sell mattresses and there's an ad that the person is responding to, and the background has fluffy clouds and things that make it, the person think of being sound asleep, that will get in their subconscious, and they'll think this is a comfortable mattress for a good night's sleep. If you put dollar signs or cash raining down as the background, then they think that, oh, this is going to help me be more successful and make more money getting a good night's sleep on this mattress. So you could use the video, that personal video that you shoot with Bonjoro or whatever, to do persuasion as well, right? Before you get on the sales call.
Yeah. The big thing that we talk about is creating a great relationship with the person before you even get to meet them. Now, let's just say that you're in a wonderful relationship with somebody. Things are going okay. It's probably unlikely that you're going to go to that person, partner, and say, honey, you know what, we've got a good relationship, but I feel like I'm going to go and spend time with the person down the road who I really don't know, who I really haven't met, but I just know where they live and what they do. And that's what we want to do. We want to create a relationship where it's harder to break than to start. It's easier to continue than say, well, I'm going to go and dump you for somebody who I don't know anything about. They've not reached out and connected with me, but I'm going to give them a go just because they're there. And we want to make the process harder for them to get out of a perceived relationship that they feel as if they've got a relationship. You potentially watch the soapies, or let's go back to Netflix. You're binge watching and you form a relationship with somebody, even with it's in a short movie or a sitcom. You form a relationship with the videos because they're showing their personality and you're getting emotively involved. And even within the sequence that we show through, like they've reached out somehow, and then you've got a video, and then you've read a little bit more about them. Then you've made a conscious decision to go to the next level or watch the next video, or then you've made a conscious decision to book in that call. You're enhancing the relationship all along the way, and then you get on the call. I've had so many people say, Steve, I feel as if I know you already. I've watched your videos. And one of the guys that did one of our earliest ever video marketing courses, and we taught him to send out the videos, and he was doing childcare cleaning. And he said, yeah, the day after your workshop, I sent the video out, and the following day I went to meet with a childcare. The owner of the childcare walked out of the place, met him in the car park and said, hey, Willem, how are you? Great to meet you. He said, that's the first time anybody's ever done that. And he said, it felt like we had that relationship before we even met. And that's one of the biggest things that you can do. The other sneaky little thing that that I've done, and Bonjoro is a great tool. I should put an affiliate link in there. But Matt has done a wonderful job. I was one of their earliest adopters, and they've got a great platform, and I really do admire what they've done with Bonjoro. But you can have your branded background and all sorts of things there. And I've got my branded background, and fortunately I had a week on Necker Island with Richard Branson. We had a lot of just fun personal photos, not the staged ones where you pay that VIP upgrade at an event. And that's in the background there. So that's another positioning tool. And positioning is very powerful. So if you've got your branded background and you're connecting with people and they see that you're hanging out with some cool people, it's like, this might be somebody I want to talk to. And it's much better way of starting that conversation than getting on a discovery call.
Right.
That you know you're going to be sold to. It's like, well, let's have a chat with this person because I feel good about getting on that call. And that's the biggest thing.
Right. And is there a particular sequence in terms of when that personal video goes out versus the back pocket guide and whatever else? Does it matter, or can it be sent in any order?
To me, it should be around about a day before you have that call. So everything is leading up to it, and may not be a short sequence. It may be a sequence that takes people a few weeks or months to get through until they've finally said, yeah, I'm now ready. Once they take that next step to say, yes, I'm ready and I've booked in the call, then they get that video email. Now, it could be personalized, or if you've got a lot booking in, it could be relatively generic, but you can do it generic and say, hey, it's Steve here. I'm really excited about you booking in for your call. All of that happens within 3 seconds. And it's like, what? They don't realize that they haven't mentioned your name. Mm. And you could personalize it. I really can't wait to getting on a call, finding out more about you. You personalize it. You look down the lens. You're connecting with the person through the lens one-on-one, and they still feel as if it's to them. So you really want to heighten the anticipation. Now, I did one free call where I just couldn't fit them in for about 3 or 4 days, and they complained. I said, is that the earliest you can get me in? I was like, well, and the interesting thing is, since I've been using personalized video emails for people, I've missed only one person not turn up in 7 years. Now, if you're a person who values your time, you don't want to be sitting around and people just not turning up. And that happens over and over again. I'm in different groups and they say, how do you get people to turn up to your calls? I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, you don't call them a discovery call. That would be the first thing. But you sequence and you increase the buying energy, that engagement factor, and they just want to get on that call with you.
Right. And do you have an example video you could share that's maybe a great template for them to use? Could be someone who gives you permission to use it, or you just make a a pretend one, but something I could include in the show notes for people to watch who are listening right now?
Just, it is very, very simple. It is so simple. You basically, if you want to do the personalized one, and you've seen one, it's, hey, Stephan, Steve here. I've just seen that you've booked in for our call on whatever time, day. I am really looking forward to it. Oh, by the way, I've had a quick look at your website because this is my business. I've had a quick look at your website and I've had a quick look at your LinkedIn profile. I have got some great ideas that I can't wait to share with you. If you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out, but I look forward to seeing you on Thursday at 3:30. Cheers, Steve. That's 20 seconds. That's trialed. It is my number one script. Would you be excited to get on a call with somebody that you know that's taken the time out, they've got some information? If all you do is turn up and get that information and pick my brain, then it's going to be a valuable call. The fact that I've actually taken time to have a look and shoot you a video. Would you want to work with somebody who does all of that, which takes me 4 minutes, 5 minutes if I hang around their website, because I can normally pick up some cool things. So if it was somebody like you and you're doing the same sort of thing as, hey, Steve, saw you book in for a call. By the way, I've had a quick look at your website and a few of the things that are going around. There's about 3 things that we could go over that I know is going to really help you with your SEO and attract more people to your website. So I'll share them with you, and I look forward to catching up with you on Friday, 2:30. Done.
Awesome.
Now, it's personalized enough that you give them some anticipation of some value that they're going to get from that call. Then the next thing is, okay, the ice is broken. You don't have to introduce yourself. They know what you look like. They know what you sound like. They've got some sort of a short personal relationship with you. So the first 15, 20 minutes where, you know, the sales coaches say, well, you build rapport here, talk about your mother's ducks and, you know, somebody else that we know. That's all done. Yeah. And it's like, you can go straight in. That's why that call is only half an hour long, because the fluff is out of the road. You can, you know, spend the first 5 minutes in creating what's next and then building into it. And because people are working through a visual document, the blueprint, and they're collaborating, the power of what is going on is amazing because it's visual. There is no way that I could ever do an audio sales call. It's interactive, and we're working on things together. And if they walk away, on the rare occasions that they walk away and say, thanks very much, this is great information, I'll go, it's because I haven't done my job properly, but they've got good information. It's value to them, and providing value is something that we aspire to for our people.
Yeah, yeah. Now you called the guide that you send a back pocket guide. And it's not an ebook, it's not a checklist or a worksheet or a downloadable PDF, but it is a back pocket guide. Why that terminology, and what's special about that?
Because it's not perceived as an ebook, because these days ebooks are throwaway pieces of crap just to get your email address. It could be brilliant information, but the perception is an ebook is just stuff. Yeah. That you're going to give me to get my email address.
It's a brown box.
It's a brown box. The back pocket, it has been carefully selected because of the science behind it as a back pocket guide. It's small enough and convenient enough to throw in your back pocket. Stephan, it's a PDF.
Yeah.
For God's sake, it's a PDF. It's an ebook. It's all of those things. But no, it's not. It's a back pocket guide.
Yeah.
And the perceived uniqueness of that is different because I spent the time wrapping it up in the back pocket guide. And let's quickly go through the science behind not being a brown box. It's Christmas morning. All the bright presents are under the tree and there's one brown box. Which is the last present to get opened? The brown box.
Yeah, of course.
We know boring stuff come in a brown box. So we're anticipating that nothing special is in this brown box. But the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is we're perceiving that the person didn't value what's in the brown box enough to spend the time wrapping it. So if you're a brown box in your industry, you're being perceived as somebody that's lazy enough and doesn't care enough about you, yourself, or your business enough to put a good wrapping around it. Now, I spent time trying to work out a really good wrapping to put around a short book, because I've got 9 bestsellers, 5 of my own, 4 collaborative. I don't want to write a big book anymore, and most people don't want to read a big book. But I didn't want to have a short ebook, and I didn't want it perceived as a PDF. So I wrapped it around, and I write now back pocket guides. I got the back pocket guide to your personal enterprise, the back pocket guide to self-selling secrets. It's my sequence of 40-minute reads that have videos in them. They're almost like a workshop in a book. But as you said, it's the wrapping around it that is perceived to be different than an ebook or a PDF or whatever. It's perceived as high value.
Yeah, awesome. And speaking of which, you are going to offer our listener viewer a free copy of the Back Pocket Guide to Self-Selling Secrets.
They certainly can. And as I just said, it's virtually a workshop in a book. There's a couple of videos in there that has got all the training in. You're going to put it in the show notes, but it's just a very simple stevebrossman.com with a /self-sell, SELF, SELL, and I know you're going to have it in the show notes.
Yes.
Jump in, watch it, read it, but most importantly, implement it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to really, there's going to be some gold nuggets in there that you could just implement 1 or 2 of them that I know that is going to make a difference. And there's obviously going to be a link in there if you want to reach out and grab your prominence and persuasion review. Be my guest, and it would be my honor to be able to help some of your people.
Awesome. Fabulous. Well, thank you so much, Steve. And if our listener wants to work with you, where should they go directly to sign up and start the process, maybe go through your courses or get coaching from you, etc.?
Well, the easiest way is obviously get the Back Pocket Guide, because that's going to give you some great information. There's going to be a link in there to connect with me. LinkedIn is a great place as well. But I'm one of these pretty well old-fashioned guys that if you want to talk to me, just reach out and email me, steve@stevebrossman.com. I'll personally answer every one of those. Even if you've just got some questions that you want to ask, or reach out and say, hey, Steve, how could you help me? Just email me. That's always the easiest. I don't want to put you through a tacky funnel. Just human to human. Come and grab me.
Human to human. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Steve. Thank you, listener. And implement some of this stuff so that you can take your business to the next level. And we'll catch you on the next episode. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, signing off.